Good afternoon. I'm Wei Ming from Singapore. I'm presenting on the law of doing online PvMP as a case study for PvP. So I'm from the English language department, so my research is more qualitative.
PLM.
I think I don't have time to show this video because I have only 14 minutes to present. I think this video is about showing you an example of the 1 versus 1 PvP and how it occurs in Lord of the Rings Online. So my research aim is to propose a methodological framework to analyze PvP in online games, and I'm using the Lord of the Rings Online PvMP as a case study to investigate some of the core systems of PvP gameplay in open world sandbox PvP. I don't know if any of you have played LOTRO, but I'm going to give some background information. It's a MMO released by Turbine on 24 April 2007 and it's set in the fantasy world based on J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth writings. And there are two main portions, which are the PV and the PvMP. The main portion is the PV, where the player control character fights against the computer control characters. And LOTRO's PvMP is open world and occurs in a large open map situated in a region known as the Atomos. In this region, the players can either play as their regular PvE player characters known as Frips or as monster player characters known as Crips. Frip is an abbreviation of the Free People of Middle-earth, while Crips are the enemies of the Free People of Middle-earth. And there are two distinctive features of LOTRO's PvMP, which are the emergent gameplay, and the PvMP map remains largely unchanged since the Lord of the Rings Online was released. And emergent gameplay refers to the ways in which the players can make a video game their own by experimenting with or even inventing new forms of gameplay or in-game experiences that in some cases may not be anticipated by the game's developers. And the emergent gameplay includes the player's strategies as a result of the player's skills and creativity to overcome the imbalance between the Creep and Flip classes. Since the players can devise novel strategies, they can overcome class disadvantages and exploit class advantages in the gameplay. And the same map has been used since LOTRO's first expansion pack, Shadows of Emma. What is so engaging about the gameplay? Why do players still want to play the PvMP, given that the map is largely unchanged? So my rationale for using LOTRO is to learn how diverse forms of gameplay and strategies attract players, and to study how the simple rules contribute to emergent behavior, so that designers can create better game modes to facilitate instead of restricting gameplay. So these are the core components of LOTRO's PvMP, which I will discuss in the next few slides. The first thing I'm discussing is the support for emergent gameplay. These are the features of LOTRO that helps to support emergent gameplay. The first is the open-ended gameplay, where the objectives that each player must try to attain are defeating the players from the opposite side in combat, completing the PvE and PvP-driven quests, and maintaining control of several keeps and outposts. And in attaining these objectives, the players will be rewarded with gameplay points. But the players do not have to adhere to these objectives, and the gameplay encourages players to formulate their own objectives, to have fun in the game, such as stealing an enemy help artifact from the enemy's base. And the second support for emergent gameplay is the gameplay locations, where these areas provide adequate support for both the attacking and defending players to encourage the stronger side to attack enemy locations. And these locations vary from the keep outposts or NPC camps. and each location can be fought over for control, and it's a common meeting place for both sides. And the keeps and outposts do not remain permanently controlled by the players. For example, when they are flip side control, they appear blue on the map, and when creep side own, they appear red on the map. The third feature to support emergent gameplay is the dynamic gameplay, where the players are not restricted from using the rules of the game to create their own gameplay rules. And this constitutes emergent gameplay, where the players can create conflict and tension between the opposite sides for PvMP gameplay. And the emergent game systems empower players by providing them greater game control, the freedom to experiment, which contributes to a sense of agency and a less of a feeling of uncovering a path set for them by the designers. And the final point that supports the emergent gameplay is the gameplay can adapt to the player population. For example, the most popular areas depend on the importance and player strength at the time. For example, outposts are used more often when fewer players are online, since they are easy to attack. But if more players are online, the keeps are attacked more often. In this way, the game's roles actions can be based on what the player population can manage at the time, instead of forcing them into a specific structure. These are the 5 types of emergent gameplay that I discovered in the game, and I will discuss them in the next few slides. The first one is the free play versus negotiated fair play, and I find that the free play dominates in the group play, where the group-based open warfare in LOTRO's PvMP is very unpredictable, and sometimes one group dominates in the killing, but other times is hunter. Players can devise many different gameplay strategies. For example, players can defeat all the opposition players in their own base, or take them to the open field fights and defeat all of them in the open field, or can resort to a divide and conquer strategy. In large raid groups, players can split into the smaller groups to defend or take outposts or keeps, or defeat the new players who are engaged in the PvE gameplay. But Ludus also dominates in the is also present in the group player, where there's more structured form of play when the group leaders implement rules that the players have to adhere to, such as kinship or tribal rules. And I find that the Ludos dominates in the plan 1 versus 1s, where the players negotiate with each other about what rules to follow in 1 versus 1 and what skills to use during combat, which contributes to a more balanced gameplay. They also cannot communicate directly in the game, and some of them who know each other can communicate out of the game via external devices such as Ventrilo to negotiate the types of gameplay they prefer for a fairer fight. And this creates a more structured form of Ludos. There can also occur more free play when the encounter is unplanned, and the players can use any forms of strategies and skills, which contribute to a more unpredictable and unbalanced gameplay. The next type of emergent gameplay I find is the points of interest, which is defined as the specific strategic locations where players engage in PvE quests. And this can provide the setting for emergent PvMP gameplay. For example, the keeps and outposts, where players from opposite side fight for control. These keeps and outposts can grant specific bonuses, such as increase in offensive abilities to whichever side that controls them, and it is one of the central PvE locations that support the development of emergent PvMP activities. The next example is the PvE escort quest, where there's a fixed linear path of the NPC that needs escort by the players, and the different players usually set up ambush in these areas, so emergent gameplay can also develop. And the final example is the special gameplay objects and the bosses, where killing these elite bosses will grant the player size bonus in the gameplay point gains. So they will have to create emergent goals for the players to prevent the enemy from taking buffs, which are granted to the side which lands the killing blow on the boss. The next emergent gameplay is the sustained group fights, which can originate from any location in the game world. And the spatial location extends to a very wide range and large groups of players, and the duration can be very long, such as a few hours. and social coordination is emphasized in this type of fights. And this type of gameplay is rewarding because longer fights provide larger gameplay rewards in the form of more gameplay points to the players. And larger scale fights promote social activities as more players become attracted to participate, as they are more fun compared to 1 versus 1s, which usually lasts less than a minute. And large scale fights require intense concentration as the players have to collaborate with one another to act as a single entity. And players who become involved in the experience come out of it feeling a deep sense of satisfaction as they feel a sense of achievement at having able to focus on a group task. So the next type of emergent gameplay is the gameplay strategy of divide and conquer, where it requires a tactical leader to coordinate the gameplay efforts of the red group, and the ability to organize large networks of like-minded players in group play. And the group leader will draw upon the previous game experience, such as reading game guide strategies or the knowledge of play patterns from the previous gameplay experience. In a group raid I was involved in, for example, the leader formulated a strategy which involved a fake attack on a keep, which is not the actual objective, and this served as a distraction while the main group utilized the maps to teleport to another enemy held keep to attack. And this strategy requires careful coordination using either external or internal audio communication device, and require quick and decisive action in which the main group quickly took the keep while the opposition's attention is distracted. The final type of emergent gameplay is the dynamics in the open-ended gameplay, where the implementation of simple rules such as the dynamic property of keeps, outposts, and resurrection points to change sites can interact with the gameplay mechanic of the creep maps to create emergent gameplay. The creep maps is a unique gameplay object possessed by the creep players that enables them to teleport quickly to fixed locations on the map. And the creep maps play a major part in creating creep site identity and also change the entire range of tactics in the Atomos, since creep maps allow creep players to travel fast and have direct access to various locations. Creep players must be careful not to fight near these locations if they cannot win the fight. And certain outpost locations are dangerous to fight near when the player plays on one side, because the gameplay mechanic with the resurrection point will be possessed by players who have captured the keeps. And due to the open-ended gameplay in the MOS, such strategies that specific player classes adhere to will not work when other classes adopt them. For example, those creep classes such as the champion class who cannot track other creep players will adhere to the strategy of not fighting near the creep teleport location if the keep is possessed by the creep site and where the creeps do not have enough people. This because the teleport locations is a hotspot of traffic for the creeps to gather. On the other hand, creep players like hunters, the hunter class can track other creep players and can use their tracking skills as a tactic, so they can remain in the stealth in specific teleportation locations to ambush a greater foe or remain around an area of importance, such as the creeps teleport point to pick off ungrouped soloers and quickly use their specific class skills to escape when the action escalates. So based on my analysis, I come up with these research questions to analyze other online game modes about their emergent gameplay. For example, how do we design the game space to encourage emergent gameplay to develop? And how do we design the game mode to create sustained group fights and to facilitate multiple strategies in the group coordination? And how can the open-ended dynamics create diverse emergent gameplay, and how does free play and negotiated play rules occur in different types of online games? So in this study, I tried to propose a methodological approach to analyze online games by focusing on the core features of LOTRO's PvMP. I hope that it can contribute to a better understanding of how emergent gameplay behavior can form in online game modes and enable game designers to understand how to analyze other online game modes and learn how to improve the core features of other online games by facilitating emergent gameplay behavior. Yeah, so that's the end of my presentation.